Viewers, good evening. There are some cases that jolt the conscience of a country and its people. The death of Atul Subhash has had the same effect. The dying declaration of Atul has triggered anger and outrage against the proverbial system. That's the word, system. But what is this system? You and I are part of it. You and I have the power to question the system, to challenge the system, and to change the system, viewers. Indians from all walks of life are demanding justice, calling for systemic reforms. The collective anguish and anger are palpable, with many questioning the lopsided laws. The incident has also sparked a national conversation about the need for systemic change. The system may have failed Atul, but we the people should not fail him. We will ensure that his sacrifice is not in vain, that this case inspires a movement for systemic reform and justice that is due to Atul and so many like him.
मेरी पत्नी ने कुल 9 केसेस जहां तक मेरी जानकारी है डाले हैं। 6 लोअर कोर्ट में, 3 हाई कोर्ट में। एक केस मैंने हाई कोर्ट में डाला है जुडिशियल का। मेरे ऊपर, मेरे माता पिता के ऊपर और मेरे भाई के ऊपर मर्डर 302, धारा 302, धारा 377 अननेचुरल सेक्स और प्राकृतिक यौन संबंध, 498A, 323, 406, 504, 506, ये सारी आईपीसी की धाराएं हैं। और डाउरी प्रोविजन एक्ट के अंतर्गत धारा 3/4 के अंदर मैं अपने माँ बाप भाई से अलग से उनसे बात करूंगा, लिखकर। हो सके तो माफ करना, जिस उम्र में मुझे अपने मम्मी पापा का सहारा बनना था, उस उम्र में उन्हें हमेशा के लिए दुख देके जा रहा हूं। ऐसा मेरा अस्थि विसर्जन तब तक नहीं होना चाहिए जब तक मेरे हरासर्स को पनिशमेंट नहीं मिलता है, तो मेरा अस्थि विसर्जन ना हो। अगर इतने सारी चीजें, एविडेंस और सब कुछ होने के बाद भी अगर कोर्ट, ये जज और मेरे बाकी के हरासर्स को पनिशमेंट नहीं देती है और बरी कर देती है, तो मेरा जो अस्थि है वहीं कोर्ट के बाहर किसी गटर में बहा देना चाहिए।
इतनी न्याय प्रणाली अपनी कमजोर है कि मैं उसके बारे में क्या बताऊं। मेरा बच्चा तो सब बयान दे गया है।
मेरा बच्चा बहुत टॉर्चर हुआ है,
बहुत टॉर्चर, इतना टॉर्चर हुआ कि हमको नहीं बताता था कि मेरे माँ बाप दुखी थे।
बच्चा काम दोनों का बुढ़ापे का सहारा था, छोड़ के चले गए। मेरा बच्चा छोड़ के चला गया।
मेरी बस डिमांड ये है कि मेरे भाई को जस्टिस मिलना चाहिए। मुझे और कोई सिस्टम से ये अपेक्षा है कि मिल के लिए भी कोई कानून आए। जो मेरे भाई के साथ हुआ वैसे बहुत सारे लोगों के साथ इस देश में हो रहा है, उस चीज़ को गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया समझे। अभी तक एक्शंस जो हैं वो नहीं हुए हैं पुलिस के द्वारा। अब आगे फर्दर कैसे प्रोसीड करना है वो हम लीगल एडवाइस लेके आगे बढ़ेंगे, आगे प्रोसीड करेंगे।
Let's quickly open this up. Abhijit Iyer Mitra needs no introduction. Lalita Kumaramangalam, former chairperson of the NCW, prominent lawyer. Aditya Pratap, advocate. Vandana Shah, also with us. And Alok Srivastav, advocate on record, Supreme Court, will be joining us shortly. Abhijit, let's get started. Over the last 2 days, look at the kind of outpouring of anger, grief, outrage, not just against the individuals. We will talk about them also, but the so-called system.
Thanks, Pranesh. And you know, the reason is because of how well Atul articulated it in his dying declaration. Every year, more Indian men die of 498, Article 498 related suicides than have been killed by terrorism in this country. 64,000 men every year, that is basically 9 every minute, are committing suicide. This has struck a particular nerve because he was able to show, or well, at least he's alleged, that the judge in question was taking bribes, and how, you know, this talk of suicide, the mental harassment was treated as a joke, both by the judge, the wife, and the wife's mother, in fact, was actually, almost challenging him, daring him to commit suicide. So it has struck a chord because this is the first time one of these men has been able to articulate it in a very academic way, in a great deal of detail, writing a whole load of evidence. I mean, look, it's a dying declaration. I don't know what the evidentiary standard for that is, but it is a dying declaration in that sense. And it really has focused down on the extraordinarily low standards we have in these gynocentric laws, the complete inversion of the presumption of innocence, and most importantly, what happens out here, any system in India that can be abused will be abused because we're a low trust, high social abuse society. This was bound to happen, and I'm glad it's finally happened. You know, let's just pray that something good comes out of this. If you remember, Pranesh, during COVID, there was this sensitive young man who got bullied by this girl, gaslighted and things like that. He committed suicide. There were absolutely no consequences for that girl. The police didn't even visit her once. Whereas, you know, an abetment to suicide case keeps getting foisted on men every now and then if the woman commits suicide. Where is the equality in all of this? So you have to take this seriously. I think the very first step is there is nothing in the current law that precludes perjury to the level of abetting murder in case of a suicide, abetting suicide, and going after every section in which perjury stands proven in a case. Why are the police not doing it? Why aren't the courts ordering it? And even in cases where perjury is proved, settlement is given. Perjury should be an immediate disqualification. And yet that is not done. I don't know if you've seen the studies, but 98% of all these cases turn out to be false.
Aditya, let me ask you. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, you know, such is the sorry state of things that perjury, even if it is proven, very little is done. There is, you know, there is very little punishment to either deter or to send a strong message. It's all chalta hai attitude. Aditya, are the laws lopsided? Yes or no? And then we begin our conversation.
No. Well, on this point, I would disagree. If an act of perjury is committed, courts take very serious action. Only thing is that the procedure prescribed by law should be followed. When an act of perjury is committed in any judicial proceeding, as per the procedure outlined in Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, read with Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita, erstwhile CRPC and CPC, you have to file an application before the concerned court, before which the perjury is committed, and give the details. The court will conduct a preliminary inquiry, and if the court comes to a finding that yes, a false evidence has been given on oath, perjury has been committed, then the court of its own motion can file a complaint to that effect before the appropriate authority. So yeah, in my opinion, if the procedure prescribed by law is followed correctly, then a strong deterrence is there against perjury also.
Do you believe laws are lopsided?
In my opinion, the laws are not lopsided. I believe that the institutions of justice are doing their duty. Every time I have seen people find an opportunity to criticize the judiciary. Let me tell you, among the most transparent, and the judiciary functions way better compared to the other government departments. In fact, it all depends on the quality of the advocate. The advocate for the concerned party should go to the extent of following the correct procedure prescribed by law, and the advocates have to do their part in ensuring that the case proceeds expeditiously. In fact, even to curb pendency, constantly directions are passed by the Supreme Court and the High Court in their administrative capacity, so that long pending cases are expedited.
You know,
so
Aditya,
I do not believe that the laws are lopsided. To the contrary, the standards of evidence.
Hold on, Aditya, hold on. You know, you're a spirited lawyer. I respect you. We've had many conversations even on air. What you are saying is good for a, law college, law university. All this is fine, but this is not practiced.
I say this after 11 years of practical experience. Because the law provides a remedy for everything. Only thing is you have to, for instance, even if I look at the Bangalore suicide case, he had a grievance with the judicial system. He could have approached the higher judiciary. He could have approached the Supreme Court. He could have approached the appropriate court seeking transfer of the matter. In case you have any grievance, say if you have any allegations against the judge, you could have availed availed of the remedy provided under the Prevention
how many
of Corruption
people
Act.
who are listening
the law
to this
provides a remedy.
Are suffering from that same problem, that they have a grievance, but they can't move a higher court because of whatever reasons involved. The cost, the approach, the lawyer, what have you. The process becomes the punishment. Abhijit, you wanted to come in.
You know, this is exactly the kind of argument, Pranesh, that has led to the suicide. Lawyers arguing for themselves for more litigation. We are so honest, please come to us to litigate even more against a judge, against whatever. You know, one of the latest cases right now is this one in the Madras High Court that was settled in 22, Gokila versus Murugesan. Perjury was proven. The police refused to proceed on it. And civil litigation had to be brought for it, even though the crime had been commissioned. This is a complete scam by lawyers, and he's right in the sense that lawyers are totally complicit in this. Everything here is done to get more and more and more business. They are literally blood-sucking parasites who are destroying the system.
Lalita Kumar Mangalam also joining a broadcast. Vandana, I'll just come to you. Let me quickly bring in Lalita ji. Ma'am, what do you make of this case that has shaken the conscience of the country?
Look, I don't think the law is wrong, but the implementation of the law has gone very, very, very haywire in this country. I may not use as strong words as my friend Abhijit, but actually I agree with him in part. A divorce case nowadays automatically includes everything: dowry harassment, domestic violence, everything, you know, and cases drag on in this country. Whether it is due to the fact that the judiciary is overloaded, or whether it is due to the fact that lawyers themselves want to make money, or whether it's a combination of many such facts, you will find that the ordinary man, I'm putting this in inverted commas, the ordinary man approaching the court, including in cases of under the BNS for violence against women, etc., or divorce, just go from one hearing to another. It just goes on and on and on. And certainly it is true that given that society is slowly changing, the gender neutrality of so-called gender laws, which were brought into place more than 40 years ago when women really needed help. Many women still do need help, let's not forget that, but more gender neutrality in such laws needs to become part of the system. I'm not an expert on how the system can be changed, but I would say that we must be more open to the fact that very often the current laws are being misused extremely strongly. And there is more than one story like this poor boy who's committed suicide. Now, as far as the law today stands, given the fact that he's given a dying declaration, regardless of what one feels about it, the police have been right, and so has the Supreme Court right in admitting the petition. I'm sorry, not admitting. Don't forget that the Supreme Court has said, has earlier said more than once this year, it's also that laws are being misused. Some of the laws being misused are also personal laws like this. And it is true that when you go for a couple that wants to separate or divorce, it becomes very acrimonious and very bitter, mostly because most of us, you know, women or men who go for a divorce, we are not really aware of what the sections under these laws are. Though right. It's the lawyer's job to tell us that or advise that. More often than not, lawyers sort of come up with more and more stronger provisions under which they say we should accuse each other. And that often turns, and I've seen this in a couple of my friends' cases, often turns what could have been not an agreeable, but at least a fairly amicable divorce into a very contentious, a very long drawn and very bitter battle. Also, you find a lot of children get very badly affected by this sort of disharmony between their parents. Everybody seems to forget that a child is not just about custody of the child. Children also understand what's going on, and it affects them very badly, especially in the long run. In this case, I think that I think there is probably a lot of truth in what this young man said. I saw a part of his video. The pain and the anguish in his voice cannot be false. Nobody just commits suicide to prove a point. So
but ma'am, there
while
are
I'm
people
not
on
saying that
social
everybody
media,
does
some
that,
of them,
I
more
think that
prominent than the others,
we need a relook at
who
our
are,
judicial system, the way it works.
just to sound, I don't know, more intellectual, balanced, what have you, or in the interest of for lack of a better word, to take the other's view. They are saying all kinds of things. And this is not the first time, like Abhijit was saying. Atul's case is
That's
only
exactly
a
what I'm saying.
reminder
We
to
need
us
to have a look at the
of
implementation
what
of the
this
law very
system has
strongly.
done to people, men and
Yes.
women, both.
Both men and women agree.
Exactly.
We need to look at the way these laws are being implemented and not just always point fingers at the court. Please also point fingers at the people, as Abhijit said, as the lawyers whom people go to, and who advise their clients to become more and more acrimonious, more and more nasty with each other.
Right.
Many divorces can be settled quite simply, but they are not.
Now, Alak Srivastav is here. Alak, you've requested the Chief Justice of India and the Allahabad High Court Chief Justice to initiate action against the principal judge of the family court in view of the serious allegations of corruption by Atul. Could you tell us more about the petition? Are you hopeful something will happen?
We need to understand one thing. This suicide note, which was left by this person, in many cases in the past, such suicide notes have been treated as dying declaration. And many convictions have been based upon such suicide notes, obviously when corroborated with other independent evidences. In this case, the Bengaluru police has today registered FIR against 4 people, the wife of the deceased and 3 relatives of the wife. I have a copy of the FIR also. However, the judge who has been named as the main accused in that dying declaration, her name is missing in the FIR for the obvious reason that a policeman or an investigating officer there in Bengaluru cannot dare to directly register an FIR against a judge. Now, question is, if 5 people have been blamed, have been directly made accused persons in the suicide note, and first one is the judge, how can the judge be left scot-free? Why no cognizance? I was hoping that Supreme Court will take suo motu cognizance, because you are aware, day before yesterday, one sitting judge of Allahabad High Court made certain remarks, and yesterday Honorable Supreme Court took suo motu cognizance of that remark. I welcome that. I welcome the act of taking suo motu cognizance of that. But today, when the entire country is outraged and everybody is trying to flag and trying to point out that there is a gross misuse of matrimonial laws, and when a person who has left a dying declaration saying that judge has directly demanded bribe of rupees 5 lakh, why at least not an inquiry being initiated against her by the honorable higher courts? So that is why today evening, when I saw that FIR is registered against the individuals, which is a welcome step, but no action is taken against the judge, I have requested Honorable CJI and also Honorable CJ of Allahabad High Court through my letter petitions. In that, I have also pointed out that there are past instances and examples wherein Honorable Supreme Court of India has treated such suicide notes as dying declaration. So there are evidences against that lady judge, and at least an inquiry should be initiated. Because if you don't take action against the corrupt officials, it will embolden other officials, other such people to enter into corruption and malpractices. On the contrary, if you take strictest possible action against the people who are involved into this case, who are corrupt, who harassed him, and who directly demanded bribe from him, once their guilt is proved in the court of law, and you take strictest possible punishment against such persons, such officials, it will set an example in the entire country.
I must say this, that it's very brave of you, Alak Srivastav, to be even making the point that you're making. A lot of people, will shy away from saying what you did, because you see, you can't question the system. And in what you've just said, you expect the system to act against the system. Well, that very rarely happens. Vandana Shah, what is the problem? Why are we having a case like this? A dying declaration that runs into, over 1 hour of video, And 24 pages.
34 pages. Correct. So firstly, I want to put out there, usually, people are talking about weaponization of laws, which are the gender weaponization of laws. Usually I speak pro-women, and I say that, women are facing a lot of trouble. But in this case, and also I'd like to make a larger point, I am pro-justice. It is not pro-men or pro-women. Now, in this case, this poor boy has lost his life because his wife filed 9 cases against him. Everybody is dissing the lawyers. No one is asking the police. And let me also tell you the changes that have been brought about. Earlier, Section 498A was a draconian law. The cops could just come in the middle of the night, pick you up, walk off. No one questions the cops. You're talking about being brave for talking against the system. Well, I want to put it out there. Don't blame the lawyers. Don't blame the judiciary only. Also, let's talk about the cops. Why are cops taking cognizance of such cases? Why aren't they following the procedure? What is this procedure of sending out a Section 41A notice, which is actually to go and arrest the person? So you have to give a 48-hour notice. Why do cops come on a Friday evening to come and deliver this notice in a 498A section? Why is that? No one questions the cops. In fact, in a Lalita Kumari judgment, you were supposed to register a 498A, no questions asked. However, there is an Pranesh Kumar judgment which has now put a curb on the police power to come and harass individuals. In fact, I'm representing a few men in these current cases. The latest trend is also to go and file fake POCSO cases against men. And I believe even Atul has spoken about a wrong sexual assault case that has been filed against him. So, let's look at justice as a larger picture instead of only looking at A, gender weaponization, and B, only blaming the judiciary. We are making changes in the judiciary, but it has to be a collective effort. And I really, really, really wish that he had approached either a higher court, and also if he had also written to the Prime Minister. There is the PMO site where you can write about corruption. I have written about it.
No. I understand where you're coming from, but for you to say, for Aditya to say that, he could have approached the judiciary, he could have written to the Prime Minister, to the United Nations. Do you know number of letters that are written to the Prime Ministers or, offices like these?
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The Prime Minister's office always responds.
All offices respond. I am sure he must have written letters. The response will come. The man is gone. The response will come. The family will get a letter, but the man unfortunately is dead. What will you do with the response?
You are coming on the judiciary.
Frame it.
You are talking about that we are saying that, about the judiciary.
Why shouldn't we talk about the judiciary? How can one organ be more equal than the other? Why can't we at least have a conversation? Because here we have a judiciary. The judges don't even declare their assets.
The laws were made. The laws were made. 1 minute. The laws were made. Let's not forget why the laws came in. The laws came in to protect vulnerable women. And that is the reason for forming these laws. You cannot talk about dowry without saying that why were dowries only acceptable for women? No woman, however great she is, can go up to a man and say, give me dowry for marrying you. Why aren't we addressing those larger issues? I am not saying that Atul Subhash didn't get justice. He did get justice. But let us also go into the genesis. Let's not just look at the product. Why have these laws come in? Everyone who has given dowry, everyone who has demanded dowry, everyone is suffering. Let's not forget about
those who have not given dowry, people who have got nothing to do with dowry, even they are suffering. That's the problem. It's not about dowry. You're getting it wrong, Vandana. I know, you mean well. But you I'll tell you what the problem is. As we've heard of this legal maxim that, let 100 guilty go scot-free, get acquitted, but one innocent should not be punished. I mean, in cases like these, the moment a complaint is filed, the punishment begins. Abhijit?
The process has always been the punishment, Pranesh, and therein lies the problem. Why should a man who has been extorted for a bribe have to even approach the higher court? And look at what I think it was Vandana or Alak who said this. Why in that FIR is the police so scared to name the judge? Had he gone to file the FIR against the judge, it should have automatically. Why is he required to pay the money? Just look at what Aditya and Vandana were saying. The onus on him even to get the law enforced against bribery, governmental corruption, he has to spend money for it. Why is that? This is the whole problem in this entire thing, Pranesh. There is a far more, Vandana raised a very, very important point, which we keep ignoring in all of this, which is that there is chronic abuse of women in this country. To this date, women keep getting bashed up left, right and center. I have seen it in my own house, a former domestic help used to come with big bruises. And every time I'd ask her, she'd say, oh, I fell down. The door just slammed in my face. And I used to secretly keep taking photos and I used to keep telling her, why are you lying to me and things like that. She was too scared to talk about it. But we also need to understand technology has moved on. The premise on which these laws were based, when there were no CCTV cameras, when there were no camera phones, there was no WhatsApp, you couldn't have a record of things, all of that has changed today. These laws are completely obsolete in terms of the technology that you have available today. And the basic problem in all of these is, of course, this isn't the only law. The terrorism laws also apply out here, where the burden of proof has been changed. The jurisprudence has changed from the Anglo-Saxon presumption of innocence to the Napoleonic presumption of guilt. There are too many interlinked issues out here, Pranesh. And I think the very fact that the judiciary protects its own, like Alak said, why do you take suo moto cognizance of an ethnic slur, but you can't take suo moto cognizance of a judge who's been accused of aiding and abetting murder, suicide through bribery? There is a very, very serious systemic problem. You need judicial reforms, and Vandana is absolutely right, you need police reforms. But please remember, the most important in all of this is that every time there is a case of perjury, the lawyer also needs to be prosecuted out there. Because every lawyer who has sat in a case where perjury has happened, representing the perjurer's side, has suborned perjury. Now, I have a very simple question. How many lawyers have been disbarred for suborning perjury in these 98% of cases proven false? Koi nahi.
Aditya?
How many cases have been prosecuted? Koi nahi. Because criminal cognizance, you shouldn't have to file an FIR. It is an automatic prosecution that needs to happen.
No, I completely disagree. In cases like perjury, there's a special procedure prescribed. You first have to satisfy the court that perjury has taken place, and then the court will decide whether to proceed or not. And third, why should a lawyer be prosecuted for perjury? It is the person, the concerned deponent or the witness who gives the false evidence. He should be prosecuted for perjury. Second, a lot of panelists have misconstrued me, and a lot of panelists have made irresponsible statements here. For instance, someone is criticizing that why was the FIR not registered against the judge? Let me tell you, in the Prevention of Corruption Act, there is a section 17A. Under section 17A, if an offence is committed by a public servant in discharge of his duty, then the appropriate sanction from the higher authority has to be obtained. So it is but obvious that the Bangalore police could not have registered an FIR against the judge. Thirdly, a lot of people have said that she filed 9 cases. I say, in law, there is a concept called doctrine of concurrent remedies. Civil, criminal, administrative remedies can be pursued parallelly if the cause of action is made out. In fact, I myself have handled 498 divorce cases where I've appeared for the wife, and for the wife I have filed a 498A, I have filed a DV complaint, I have filed a civil suit, and I have filed a divorce petition. So law permits concurrent remedies, and you can defend against them, and if any of the cases is proven false, you can file appropriate proceedings under 211 of the IPC for malicious prosecution. And further, when we look at the facts of the present case, there are crores of cases pending in the country. Now, with all due respect and deference to the soul of Mr. Subhash, Fact of the matter is, if a judicial proceeding is pending, you have to contest it in the court of law. Because otherwise tomorrow, because, you know, suicide is not a solution, with all due respect.
No one is
finally,
saying suicide
is a lot
is the
of people
solution.
are finding an opportunity to castigate.
No one on the panel here believes.
I'm saying it is not. I'm saying the point is.
No.
That
Aditya, 1 minute. 4 hands going up.
it is not a solution. It is not a solution.
Alak saying something. Lalita ji, I'm coming to you.
Allow me to respond.
Yeah.
Just 2-3 points. With due respect to my colleague Mr. Aditya, I completely agree with him that lawyers can't be subjected to perjury proceedings in such cases, because perjury is conducted on the basis of affidavit given by the parties. So I agree with him at that point. While I disagree with him when he says that as per Prevention of Corruption Act, sanction is needed. Can he answer my simple question? Has Bengaluru police initiated any process to obtain sanction to proceed against the concerned judge? The answer is no. And second question is this: in my letter, I am not blaming police also. I am only saying that when Honorable Supreme Court took suo motu cognizance of many cases in the past, a case which has shaken the public faith in the judiciary, a case where entire India is outraging, why there is no suo motu cognizance? That is my question. I am not saying that police should file without sanction, etc. Now coming to the core issue, 2-3 points I want to clarify here, and we all, I think, agree and admit to that. There is no denial. All of us who are right now outraging over the demise of this gentleman, we are not at all saying that there are no genuine victims, genuine lady victims. We are not saying that the incidents of domestic violence or dowry demands are not taking place in India. What we are saying is that when laws were made to deter these dowry demands and exploitation of women, domestic violence, etc., that law had its own role. There are genuine victims, but now the misuse has surpassed everything. And now I believe there are more bogus or fake victims as compared to genuine victims. Those people who are misusing these laws, those people are not only doing injustice to the innocent men, they are also doing injustice to the innocent victims. So please try to understand, all of us who are raising voices in support of late Mr. Atul, we are not at all questioning that why this law should be there or not. What we are saying is that when Parliament in its prudence enacted these laws, 498A was enacted, all these Domestic Violence Act was enacted.
You are right. It's not so much about the laws as it is about justice. And somebody was making the point.
Just 1 minute. Just 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Now when misuse has increased manifold, it is the high time that our Parliament and our higher judiciary should sit together, or they should ponder upon it, think upon it, and try to curb the misuse. That is my only point. I am not saying that innocent victims should also not get justice.
No one is arguing that point. It can't be argued. No, 1 minute.
So
Vandana was saying that usually she takes a pro-women stance. Now, this is not, viewers, don't get us wrong. This is not about pro-women, anti-men, or pro-men, anti-women. This is about being pro-justice. Subhash's family needs justice. That's all, plain and simple. Let's not complicate this. And Aditya, by the way, you know the cases and you're talking about this principle of concurrence of justice or something. Correct me if I'm wrong. Now, while all that is there, alimony or seeking alimony is no more a remedy. It has become an industry. And lawyers, thrive in making a pitch to their client. I can get you so much. It is an uncomfortable truth. Lalita ji.
I agree with you, Pranesh. That's what I was saying, that the laws by themselves may not be bad, but it's the implementation of the laws that I agree with Alak when he says that both the judiciary and senior parliamentarians, etc., need to sit down and decide how we are going to stop this. There is too much misuse of the law. You also I find it very rare anywhere in India, whether it's the bureaucracy or the police or the judiciary, etc., where a senior will tell you that yes, you can go ahead and take action against a junior. You know, it's like a clan. They clam up, they get together and they say, we don't make mistakes. People don't want to admit that there are mistakes made by people from within their own community, so to speak. And even though there are still many women who get bashed up, etc., there seem to be, unfortunately, a huge increase in women who are misusing the law. And I agree with Mr. Alak when he says that such women are actually doing other women a very big disfavor, along with harassing men and unnecessarily dragging out cases, etc. The women who are really getting harassed and beaten up and raped, etc., these sort of false cases are being used to silence those voices. So the
That's
problem
right.
is
It's become a tool of blackmail.
Exactly.
Some of these cases are filed to satisfy their ego or what have you, ego of the family members, overzealous relatives.
Justice.
Vandana.
And that's also very unfortunate.
I don't agree with that blanket statement. I want to take you up on two things. Alimony is not an industry. No one talks about homemakers who've been married for 30 years and who are then expected to walk out of a marriage with no money. No one talks about that. No one talks about the fact that once your domestic violence case is filed, although the laws say that within 6 months you must get an interim maintenance, nothing happens, and sometimes it takes 4 to 5 years to get an interim maintenance. No one wants to talk about that. So let's not just say that, women are gender weaponizing the laws. That's not true. You have to take a balanced view. And thirdly, you're saying that, I think Mr. Alak said that when these laws were formulated, I'm sorry, that there have been a lot of amendments in these laws over a period of time. Like I mentioned even earlier, 498A earlier, you could just walk in, arrest the entire family members. Now the onus is on the inquiry to be conducted by the police. Let us discuss.
Can I ask you a question? I was going over the commentary on social media. I'm sure, no, 1 minute. Just answer a simple question and tell me if the question is silly. Forgive me for asking this.
Please.
You were talking about alimony, maintenance, what have you. Now, if, the husband earns less than the wife, the couple divorce, will the husband get maintenance from the wife?
There is a remedy in law.
Will the husband get maintenance from the wife?
There is a remedy in law, but no one's... Pranesh, there is a remedy in law. Section 24 of the Hindu Marriage Act says if either of the spouse feels that they cannot maintain themselves, they can approach the court. How many men approach the court? Almost none. Because they tell me when they come over here, they say, no. Ma'am, we cannot approach the court. How stupid will it look that I am a man and I am asking for money?
Abhijit.
So now you've come into gender stereotypes. There is a remedy in law. So, let's not just say that the judiciary is not taken any action. That
Alak, I'm coming to you. Let Abhijit quickly make his point. I'm coming to you.
And I only wish Atul Subhash had taken another remedy also, rather than this drastic remedy. And I'd really like to condole his death and to offer my services to his family for helping out in any way I can.
Abhijit.
So Vandana is absolutely right when she says men don't come forward to use these remedies. This is also chronic in the case of sexual violence against men because they feel somehow their masculinity has been compromised. Hum aurat ban gaye hain by admitting that we have been raped or sexually molested in any way, right? So that is a very true thing. However, every time we go and talk to the cops about these things, they tell us, sir, we don't even want to register these cases, but we have no option because the lawyers come and file all these cases. A lot of them are the ones urging. Now, it can be the police, it can be the lawyers, it can be anybody out there. But if you are filing these cases, there has to be a onus on both the police and the lawyer to have a good faith basis and to have done due diligence on their client before agreeing to even file these cases,
right.
Number one. Second, we were talking about the sanction to prosecute. Sanction to prosecute is just that. It is the sanction to prosecute. It is not to file cases, FIR and things like that. You remember when Subramaniam Swamy sought Channa Reddy, the then governor of Tamil Nadu's permission to prosecute Jayalalitha, all the cases had been filed, the FIRs had been filed, everything had been filed. It was just Channa Reddy's acquiescence to prosecute. Okay, even that has not been done.
How will the
they will
police
not even name the judge in the FIR.
No, but like I said, Abhijit, how will the police even dare to, name the judge?
Yes,
they have a job
so
to
there is
keep.
A fundamental problem out here.
Exactly.
It is an abuse of the office.
It's a problem, and let's just say it what it is. Now, there is a growing sentiment, and people believe that Parliament must step in. The Parliament can only step in if it is allowed to function. I thank some of you for joining us on debate number 1. Viewers, let's quickly shift our attention